one element where Kingdom Hearts 1 shines especially is that you actually do have a lot of like just direct confrontation with the Disney characters that makes you feel very, very immersed in that world. Like
Yeah.
you are upsetting the balance. You are going against the Prime Directive. You are beating the crap out of Captain Hook, Oogie Boogie, Maleficent, whatever. And I just think that's cool. And I also think that if you made a remake, Disney might say, "Hey, wait a minute, we actually don't want like your character fighting these characters anymore."
Yeah.
It's possible.
What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode of What's Brewing. My name is Andy Brew, and today we have a very special guest in the house. Mr. KHGuides has joined us on this wonderful day, night, whenever this episode is going up, I don't know, but he has joined us today to talk about Final Fantasy. Just kidding, not Final Fantasy. Guides, why don't you tell everybody who you are, and we will get going on the things and the stuff.
See, you bet. What's up, y'all? I'm Final Fantasy Guides. Wait, sorry, KHGuides. I do a lot of Kingdom Hearts on Twitch and YouTube. I manage KHGuides.com, where I'm working to build guides and walkthroughs over many years. But yeah, I stream a lot of Kingdom Hearts on Twitch. I work on all kinds of projects to revise the guides, and right now I'm in the middle of what I'm calling a perfect playthrough of KH1, where I cannot take a single hit as Sora, and Donald and Goofy cannot get KO'd ever, and if they do, I've got to reset. So it's been a time. It's been a very time. But I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you guys, and even if you guys have like you know everything about Kingdom Hearts, like you know the game front and back, you know all the secrets, the best enemies to farm for specific items, whatever it is, I still highly recommend checking out KHGuides' channel and the website, because Guides makes some of the best videos just for, in terms, if you're trying to, just learn about tech points, for example, or whatever it is, He makes some of the best videos out there. Even if you know everything, they're still entertaining and fun and informative. And you might learn something that you never knew before. So absolutely, please go check him out. And I'll have all his links in the description below for you guys. But let's talk about what's brewing. Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, there was, some rumors going around, I think last month. I don't even know when it was at this point. All the rumors, all the Kingdom Hearts rumors, they all kind of jumbled together for me. So it's like, this also probably was talked about like a year ago, 2 years ago, but people are talking about a Kingdom Hearts remake. Does it need a remake? Should it get remade? Is it going to get remade? It's definitely been an interesting topic of discussion in the community. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, KHGuides, let me ask you this. Does Kingdom Hearts need a remake?
Well, I'm going to preface this by saying Kingdom Hearts 1 is my favorite game of all time. So I know going into this that I do have a personal bias with KH1. That being said, I'm going to try to be as objective as possible. Granted, it's a subjective topic, but anyway, at a high level, I think Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, as it is today, as you can play it on PS5, PS4, Switch Cloud, wherever you get it, I think it still holds up really, really well for its age. And I'm of the opinion that it doesn't need a remake. I think a lot of people would be thrilled for it to get a remake, and I think that's fine. I really think that there are some positive things that you could get from a remake of something like Kingdom Hearts 1. But in my mind, I see a lot of things that would be concerning about the precedent of remaking something like Kingdom Hearts 1. So that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat where it's like, it's so interesting because I love Kingdom Hearts 1, and every year that I get older, I look back at Kingdom Hearts 1 and it just goes like higher up for me. Like I love and appreciate it more every single like as I get older, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm of the same opinion where it's like, I think, yeah, it was if it gets remade, I'll play it. Heck yeah, I'll play it. But like, does it really need one? Like I don't know. It's I don't think it does because I think to this day Kingdom Hearts 1 is the most charming in the entire franchise. It's got the most charm. It does things that like other Kingdom Hearts games don't do, which I wish they would bring back. Maybe that's something we can talk about later, in a future Kingdom Hearts game. And I'm outside of, a couple of like mechanical things with maybe like the camera or whatever. It's just like
Oh
minor
yeah.
stuff. Like I don't think it needs a remake. I think it holds up really well.
Yeah. Agreed. And like you said, I think there are some technical things that don't hold up to modern gaming today. It's very much a game of its era, right? A lot of people say that Kingdom Hearts 1 does not hold your hand, which is true in a lot of cases. It's that's something that I think the games have evolved to do over time as gaming, just evolves, Like there's help boxes that show up and say, "Hey, player, you just got this new item. Let's go equip it." Kingdom Hearts 1 doesn't really do that. It'll tell you got the item, but it's not going to guide you through equipping a new accessory or a keychain. I've been to so many first playthroughs on Twitch because I love popping in and seeing how people approach the game. And one of the things that I see very commonly is that they'll be halfway, three-quarters of the way through the story and not realize that they have not like changed their keychain because they didn't know that that was a thing. There's one text box that pops up in Deep Jungle after you do the whole Clayton thing, where it says keychains are this. This is where you go to equip them, but it doesn't like take you to the menu and go do it yourself. So there's definitely not a lot of hand holding with that game that I think some people would argue, oh well, a remake would fix that. You would have more intuitive controls. You would have menus that would be more intuitive. When you get new things in the game, new abilities, it would tell you what they do immediately. It would have that little preview that some more modern games do, like Final Fantasy 16 is a common example that, or I guess a more recent example that I played, where when you're in a menu and you can see the abilities list and you hover over one, it'll actually show you a video of the main character like doing the ability, so you can be like you can visualize it in the moment. Kingdom Hearts 1 does not do that at all. You equip it and you get to try it out yourself to see what it even is. There's like help text, but that's it. But getting off of the technical needs, I understand that for like, oh, well, we need a remake so we can get some modern era gaming features, and I get that. I totally get that. There's those elements that a remake could really improve that part of the experience for Kingdom Hearts 1. But back to what you said about charm, yes, the game is oozing with charm, and I think there's a quality to it because of the time period in which it was made that would get lost in a remake. There's something about the aesthetic of that era that lent itself to portraying a lot of those Disney characters in that medium of the time. That if we got a remake with super sleek graphics, I think you'd lose a little bit of that timeless quality to it. I mean, I want to say most of the Disney IP in Kingdom Hearts 1 comes from an era of 2D animation. As early as is Snow White in there? Yeah, Snow White's in there. As early as the late 1930s, and as recently as like Disney's Renaissance era of like the mid to late 90s with Tarzan. And I guess Nightmare Before Christmas would be the outlier because it's stop motion. But the team spent so much time taking those 2D characters who we've only ever seen in just a flat dimension media and rendering them in 3D. And I think that was a very daunting task that could very much look unnatural had they not approached it with as much care as they did. And I think they nailed it. I really think that there's a particular aesthetic to Kingdom Hearts 1 that makes you feel like these are the films that they are portraying. I think that the writing team and the visual team does such a careful and loving job of portraying those films in a way that makes it feel very immersive and very true to the source material. I promise you, if you go back and watch one of those classic films and then play through that world in Kingdom Hearts, you're going to see so many references, just like for like from the film, that you'd be like, oh my gosh, there's so much depth, there's so much realism from this film that makes me feel like I'm a part of it. And I think if you were to bring what they did with KH1 and bring it to the modern era with a complete remake, I think there's an aesthetic quality that you would lose. And I know that Kingdom Hearts 3 did something similar, like a Kingdom shader, where they tried to bring, especially the Hundred Acre Wood characters, into the modern era, and they built a shader that made them look like they were kind of cut out of a like picture book. And I actually like what they did there. I kind of liked the approach. I didn't love Hundred Acre Wood from a story perspective in 3, but that's a whole other conversation. But I think there's something that could be lost in its aesthetic that we would lose with a remake.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think how, like if you were to remake Kingdom Hearts 1 for, a modern audience, like combat and all that stuff aside, right? Just like, I don't know, I can't picture Kingdom Hearts 1 in like Unreal Engine. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it would lose like what we were talking about, like the charm or what actually makes like these old Disney films like special. That the art style of Kingdom Hearts 1, like you were saying, you play through Kingdom Hearts 1, you go back and you watch these Disney movies, you're going to see so many references, and it really feels like you're there, and I feel like trying to remake that with, let's say, Unreal Engine, or let's just even if they went like Kingdom shader on it, like I don't know, like it doesn't feel right because it's it kind of almost doesn't feel I don't know, it feels manufactured or like not authentic. I don't really know what the right word is for it, but I agree with you. We're like, yeah, like like that art stuff, like Kingdom. I'm almost wondering, like, if they were to remake Kingdom Hearts 1, like, is there a way for them to go back to like a similar like art style? They don't have to, maybe not, revert engines or anything, but like I'm wondering if there is a way where they could actually maintain the artistic value and just the way that Kingdom Hearts 1 is. I wonder if there's a way they could maintain that with a remake.
That would
I'm not
be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how it would. At that point, it's like, okay, but like, do we really need to remake it?
Yeah, and it's funny because when they did the HD remix versions, I think back in 2013, so this was our official remasters of the original Final Mix. It was the first time that the states got Final Mix content locally. Those games, if I remember correctly, the Square Enix team did not have all of the visual assets from the original games at the time. So when they went to go remaster it, I think they actually had to remake a lot of those visual assets, like the character models and the animations.
I did not know
and
that.
So I don't know if all of it was built from scratch, but a lot of it was, which is very surprising because if you really play them side by side, like the original
You wouldn't
version,
notice.
honestly,
I wouldn't.
I don't
Yeah.
feel that much of a difference from just like a spatial recognition perspective. I think they really tried to make it super one-to-one as a remaster and not really touch much else, which I honestly appreciate. I think they were still, even back in 2013, I think they were trying to maintain that iconic aesthetic that they nailed with KH1. I mean, it was a lightning in a bottle game. I think in any other instance of this universe, that game would not have panned out. I think we totally lucked out with something with Kingdom Hearts. It's iconic, it's weird as hell, and I don't know. It shouldn't work, but it does. And I don't know. It's not even just an aesthetic thing. I think there's a perception of scale with Kingdom Hearts 1 that you lose in games later on, and maybe not lose, maybe just that perspective of scale changes over time, and it's a character journey. Like there aren't very many creative works, especially in gaming, I feel, that have a single concurrent storyline across a quarter of a century now, like nearly a quarter of a century.
Right.
That's exceptional. Like there are plenty of games that reinvent themselves over time with new iterations. Final Fantasy like they rework a universe every time they make a numbered title for the most part. Um, there are definitely a few other series that have a single story that keeps pushing forward over decades, like a legacy of games. And Kingdom Hearts is one of those. And I feel, well, hang on, let me get back to scale. I'm losing the plot
So
here.
whenever you say you're talking about scale, right? So like, what do you mean with like whatever you say, like the scale changes, or like it's the scale's bigger or smaller? Like what do you mean by that?
So what I see in scale, especially in Kingdom Hearts 1, I mean this is our first introduction to Sora as a character. It's his first time getting off of the islands and going to other worlds. So I think from his perspective, things feel very large. And what you see
Interesting.
with
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 1 is the camera is actually very close to Sora compared to other games. Kingdom Hearts 2 brings the camera way back. And I think part of that is because of the evolution of combat. You see a completely different scale of combat in Kingdom Hearts 2, and a lot of people love it for that, which I think is valid.
Yeah.
But for Kingdom Hearts 1, you very much feel close to Sora in his perspective, and it makes the world seem a lot larger to you, the player. And I feel like if they were to remake Kingdom Hearts 1, I feel like that's one of those critical elements of the experience that has a potential to get lost, where they might want to pull the camera back and make it more focused on a KH2 like KH3 like combat where it handles more enemies on screen. But I think you lose something in playing as Sora and seeing these worlds for the first time and just taking it all in from Sora's perspective and the scale of that.
That's so interesting. I actually never thought about it like that. With like because the camera is closer to him, the world just seems bigger. Like I never thought about it like that, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, like I'm imagining if you were to zoom out the camera in Kingdom Hearts 1 like you were in like 2 or 3, I'm thinking of Traverse Town like immediately. It's like, yeah, it wouldn't look like it's really you would lose like a sense of that scale. And I'm almost wondering if like that was intentional, right? Whenever they were making Kingdom Hearts, like that was intentional. Like, yeah, they made the camera close because like they want you to really kind of put yourself in Sora's shoes. And yeah, you can look around in first person and stuff too, which I think is really cool. And of course, when we get to Kingdom Hearts 3, the worlds are just bigger, so like it's a whole different thing. But I never thought about that. Yeah, like the camera being close to Sora, it gives you that perspective of like, wow, like this world is like it. Like this is a world. I'm not just going through like a hallway. Like this is a world. It almost makes the worlds feel more immersive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said the word hallway because I think you triggered some Kingdom Hearts 2 fanatics. But I will say,
as a Kingdom Hearts 2 fanatic, that's my favorite game of all time.
Oh, yeah.
But I have, I do have criticisms of it. But, not to get too off track there, but like, yeah, like, Kingdom Hearts 2, they focus so much on the combat that the level design got lost. I want Kingdom Hearts 1 level design back in my Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah, it's really funny because it's still the first game in the franchise, but it set such a standard for games of its era. There were other studios on record saying, we saw a demo of Kingdom Hearts and said, oh no, we got to step up our game. One of the ones I was made aware of by friends who were like researching it at the time was the Jak and Daxter series. Jak 2 was in development when Kingdom Hearts was getting its promotional tour. And they saw the pre-rendered cutscenes of Kingdom Hearts and said, oh, we have to do better than what we're doing today. We gotta be like these guys. And so the game it set a standard of quality that I think other studios even today are trying to chase.
Yeah.
And I know the platforming is actually a really big pain point for people in Kingdom Hearts 1, and I think that's perfectly valid. There's some pretty awful platforming in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Oh, for sure.
I think a lot of people mention the Trickmaster fight in Wonderland as like, I hated that fight because of the platforming. And
That's
I think
so
they're
valid.
100% correct.
Yes.
They're so right. And I think that's one of those things where they're like, oh, well, a remake would fix that. And it's like, sure, okay, I see
Yeah.
where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You could fix some of the platforming to be a bit more intuitive if you're going to keep the platforming in it. And that would be a concern too. If we see a big world redesign with a remake, which I wouldn't necessarily expect, I think they would keep that 1-to-1, but I don't know. Um, I think you would lose a quality that is unique to Kingdom Hearts 1. Yeah, the platforming is kind of, chunky and like the way Sora moves in the environment isn't necessarily as natural as modern games are today. But I think when you spend time in the game and you get accustomed to it, I think that's something that just kind of grows on you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like it. But I think it's as with any other game, when you're getting your feet wet, I think that becomes more natural over time. I think there's some really great platforming aspects to Kingdom Hearts 1. I point to Hollow Bastion especially because it's got some kind of like low level puzzles that you can do that kind of break up the combat. Because, I mean, shoot, that world has like 5 bosses in a row
Yeah.
story wise. So breaking it up with a little bit of platforming, a little bit of puzzle solving, I thought was a really good choice. And that's the kind of element that I'd love to see back in Kingdom Hearts in the future is kind
Yeah.
of balance the beauty of the combat in 2 and 3, immersion, and maybe platform puzzle style of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I love the platforming in Kingdom Hearts 1, but I'm just like, I just love platformers. So like I'm a little
Same.
biased. But what's interesting is like, yeah, some of the platforming KH was kind of like, it's not a platformer, right? But what I do love about it is there are some platforming puzzles where you can kind of solve multiple different ways. There's like that chest in Traverse Town where right like on like the edge of the like the gizmo shop. And it's like
Yeah.
I can either like jump and swing my keyblade and just barely nick the edge so I can grab onto the ledge. Or I can wait until I can climb the ladder to go on top of the shop and then jump down and get the chest. Or I can wait until I get a high jump or a glide and come back. I love stuff like that. Deep Jungle is the same way. There's with like the Hippo Lagoon. I'm the kind of guy where I'm like, I see a chest, I'm gonna figure out how to get it now. So as a kid, I spent a unhealthy amount of time, trying to optimize how far can I get in one jump and when do I need to swing my keyblade so I get just enough extra air so I land on the tree to get to the chest, even though I could come back later with something that's going to allow me to unlock it a little bit easier. But it's stuff like that I love about Kingdom Hearts 1. And also like this is also something that I wish like more Kingdom Hearts games have like do in the future, which they have done. But you have a reason to go back to all these worlds. You have trinities in Kingdom Hearts 1. You have puzzles and chests that you can't reach or areas that you can't access unless you have like certain abilities. And it just made, I guess, like the post game and the reasons to revisit the worlds like just more. There's more of an incentive to do it in comparison to the other games. Now, obviously, in Kingdom Hearts 2, you have second visits, so you're forced to go back. But like the level design is pretty bare bones in KH2, so there's really no other reason to go back outside of like, well, I got to go here for the next part of the story. And then Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, you could, to my knowledge, you can do. You can 100% a world and never go back to it unless you're doing like the emblems that you missed or like the flans or anything. I really wish, again, future, like, I don't know how Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to be, but I really wish they brought back a lot of those elements from Kingdom Hearts 1. And I'm wondering if Kingdom Hearts 1 were to be remade, if, they would be too focused on like combat and like, appealing to like the broader Western audience instead of making like, remaking what made Kingdom Hearts 1 special in so many ways in the first place.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head because I think Kingdom Hearts 1 navigates this interesting balance of combat and world immersion and platforming and puzzles that gets shifted in later games. Not necessarily to error, but going back to the example, and I don't want to make this too much a comparison versus KH1 versus KH2.
No, that's
but
okay.
You're right. Kingdom Hearts 1, there's a lot of platforming and puzzle solving involved with gaining items in like treasure chests, like you said. In Kingdom Hearts 2, the design philosophy shifts 180 degrees, and everything's on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, you're a short hop from pretty much everything, at least treasure chest wise, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, you know, very different, and the balance gets shifted to more heavily incentivize combat and, you know, moving through the story in like the 2 different episodes per world.
Yeah, and they kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, my thought was, you know, with Final Mix, they kind of addressed that with Cavern of Remembrance. You know,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, like you actually need to like farm levels for drive form so you get the growth abilities. Which, by the way, I hated that they locked growth abilities and dodge roll and everything behind drives. Another criticism I have of Kingdom Hearts 2. It's still my favorite game of all time, but yes, that is a major gripe that I have. And Cavern of Remembrance was kind of a nice way to be like, okay, you know what, like there isn't really much platforming or anything. You don't have any use for growth abilities like glide or aerial dodge. I mean, aerial dodge is probably the most useful when it comes to combat and things like that. But you don't really have use for like, you know, a lot of these outside of combat. Now let's give you a reason to actually level these up and use them. And then, you know, you have a great reward at the end, which is Data Organization 13. It's like 13 super bosses. Like, this is sick. And so, yeah, I think, you know, that was kind of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix's way of addressing that. But like we're talking about, I mean, Kingdom Hearts 1, I feel like has just that perfect balance of combat, puzzle solving, you know, like whatever, mini games, whatever it is. And I think that gets lost in future games. And I'm wondering if that would also get lost in a remake, because a lot of I feel like I hear more people say that Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 is like their favorite now, more than like Kingdom Hearts 1. You know, and then, you know, there's still a large handful of y'all out there, right? But I think we are, you know, the West is really like combat gameplay focused, and I think like Square saw that and were like, yeah, like we should really delve deep on that in future games, but at the expense of like some of the other things, which I wish they would bring back.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think there are such great points made for the balance between its aesthetic and its scale and its combat versus puzzle versus environment. That sense of immersion, that sense of nostalgia you get for KH1. And I think a remake, to sum this part up, I think a remake would inevitably upset that balance in one way or another. Yeah. Obviously, I think that balance is going to. I think the expectation of that balance would look different for every player, right? I think for those who love Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, especially for its combat, I think they might see an upset in that balance for them to be like, well, where's my KH2, KH3 combat? Which honestly, that kind of leads me into one of my other concerns about a potential Kingdom Hearts 1 remake, is that as soon as that gets announced, that opens the door. Sorry for Kingdom Hearts pun, but that kind of opens the door to, well, are we going to get a Kingdom Hearts 2 remake? What about Kingdom Hearts 3? What about the non-numbered titles? And I've seen it happen with so many other franchises, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but what I see is that once you start remaking your first game, there's an expectation from consumers that you're going to follow through. And not only are you going to start putting out new stuff to push the story forward, but you're going to go back and remake everything else. Pokemon does this. Resident Evil has done this in the recent past. Persona has gotten, remasters, I suppose. That doesn't necessarily count. But, God of War. God of War is getting a trilogy remake.
Well, technically, just because I'm playing Persona 3 right now, like, Persona 3 Reload is like, it's a remake, but it's pretty one for one from what I understand. Sure. Outside of like, you know, they add like some like fun stuff and like some quality of life things, and some things kind of spice up the characters and the story. But like it's a pretty solid like remake, you know. But yeah, I mean, go ahead, you keep going with like because I agree with you. It's like there is that expectation of well, now you get a remake every other Kingdom Hearts game. That was actually a question I had for you. You're a bit ahead of me right now. Was if no, it's good. I'm glad. This is great. I love it. Like if they did remake Kingdom Hearts 1, if they went this, you know, are they gonna remake more if they go down this remake route? You know?
Yeah, and my concern with that, I mean, I still don't want a KH1 remake, but if it opens that door and people start expecting the other games to be remade, is there an expectation that Square Enix, given their track record of how long these games take to develop, which we'll talk about later, is there an expectation that they should be simultaneously putting out new story to move it along? Kingdom Hearts 4, another non-numbered title, Kingdom Hearts 5, who knows, as well as develop these remakes. And now, I don't want to assume that the same creative team at Square Enix would be responsible for both a remake of the original title and whatever future titles coming up next, but that's, you know, those are creative resources taken up by creating remakes.
Yeah.
And so as someone who is eager to see more Kingdom Hearts, like just new story, like moving it along in the future, are you willing to have a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake in development or Kingdom Hearts 2 remake at the expense of getting that new content sooner? Because you got to imagine that Tetsuya Nomura would be at least in some sort of directorial position for a remake, similar to how he is with the 7 remake series. And I mean, that guy's only got limited time. I love the guy, but I mean, he can only work on so many projects at once. And you know, he's got his hand in some Final Fantasy of some nature, maybe not the next numbered one, but something. You know, he's working on Kingdom Hearts 4. You know, he's in at least a creative decision-making position with the 7 remake series, which, I mean, we may see the end of that here at some point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think that's an important question that you as a consumer need to, you know, come to terms with, is if you're really, really wanting a remake of the original games, you got to understand that you are potentially doubling the amount of time until you get something new. And Kingdom Hearts takes forever to make, and I want to touch on why I think that is at some point, but it already takes forever for these games to come out for good reason. So it's just something they got to balance.
You make such a good point there. I think you nailed it with like, yeah, if Kingdom Hearts 1, let's just start with Kingdom Hearts 1, gets remade, you know, what is that? Because they have to divide up their resources to do that. Or even like a Days remake. I know a lot of people want a Days remake. That would be something really cool, you know, but like you have to think, okay, like it's 2026. We haven't seen Kingdom Hearts 4 in video footage form in 4 years. Okay. Now add a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake or a Days remake or a Union Cross remake, whatever it is. Now, how much longer is it going to take for the next Kingdom Hearts game to come out? Because, like you said, you got to ask, as a consumer who's a fan of the series, you have to ask yourself the question, am I willing to, you know, wait even longer for that next new installment in my franchise, you know, because Kingdom Hearts is my franchise, right? Am I willing to wait, you know, even longer than I'm waiting now for the sake of, you know, something just getting remade, you know? And I think, I think you absolutely nailed that. And since you brought it up, I want to pick your brain on it. Why do you think these games take so long to make in the first place?
I think Kingdom Hearts takes a really long time to produce new work because it's one of the only, not the only, but one of very few intellectual properties that relies on more than one creative entity to produce it.
Yes.
You know, take Final Fantasy, for example. That's all in-house for Square Enix. Like, they have subcontractors do a lot of the development, but the creative decisions all live within Square Enix.
Yeah.
With Kingdom Hearts, you have to work with Disney. It is
you have
contractual obligation to work with Disney on the representation of their characters, what gets approved from a story perspective involving their characters. I know that there's a little bit of legal gray area around even the Kingdom Hearts exclusive characters like Sora, Riku, Kairi, the organization, etc., that they are, I've heard, technically Disney licensed characters based on their agreement. Now, I have never seen that in writing, but that's been, distributed along the internet as fact for a long time now. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I think because of the nature of that creative partnership, they inevitably have to take a very long time to produce. And I think for a company like Square Enix, who is really in desperate need to put out some pretty great AAA content to stay above water right now, they're going to focus on something that they don't have to wait on a second party to do. It doesn't mean that they're not working on Kingdom Hearts, but I think I, as a business person at Square Enix, would prioritize putting something out that I have 100% creative freedom on versus something that I need to wait for approval to do.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why we got 2 Octopath games, for example, in the last 3 years, right? That's why FF7 Part 3 is most likely going to release before Kingdom Hearts 4, maybe even before we even get an update on Kingdom Hearts 4, because they have full control of these franchises with Kingdom Hearts. Because, I see people on the internet all the time complaining, like, it's taking so long, like, how come, they're so focused on Final Fantasy, they're just milking FF7, blah, 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 like, why don't they make Kingdom Hearts? Well, as like you said, and this is what I've been saying for years, they have to work with Disney. And Disney is not always the easiest entity to work with, because Disney has so many, has hands in so many other cookie jars as well. And so I think that's why Kingdom Hearts 4 is taking so long. You got to work with Disney. And I'm wondering, if Kingdom Hearts 1 were to get remade, how much more do you have to work with Disney? Can you even get Deep Jungle back in Kingdom Hearts 1?
That's a great question. I was just researching a couple of days ago for other reasons about the nature of the Edgar Rice Burroughs agreement with Disney.
Yes.
Because at the time that the film was released, which I think was 1999.
Yeah, Deep Jungle was Tarzan, Disney, by the way, for those of you who are not aware.
So Disney had a contractual obligation, or had a contract with Edgar Rice Burroughs, which is the publishing company that owns Tarzan of the Apes, is the name of the book. And so they made their movie. They had a licensing agreement that expired after the release of Kingdom Hearts 1, which I think in part is why we don't see Tarzan and
Chain of Memories
Jungle reappear in something like Chain of Memories or anything in the future, really, is I think the major reason one could give is that licensing agreement expired. It's why you don't see any Tarzan merchandise at Disney or in the parks. You see very little representation of the film outside of that. You might see a social media post here or there because they own that version, but aside from that, that's out of the picture. I know there's been a lot of talk online of you could replace Deep Jungle with something like the Jungle Book. You still have the jungle theme, but you're not hurting the story. And I can see that as a pretty valid point. There's not actually anything imperative happening in the Deep Jungle story of Kingdom Hearts 1 that would inherently change the overarching story too much. There's not a Princess of Heart involved in that world. Whatever evil baddie in that world, they could kind of write the story around them. Clayton was not part of the Council of Villains, that sort of thing. So I think you could actually interchange that world. But again, it's kind of the same thing with everything else too. They have to go through Disney. Even if the story's the same and their character representation is the same, I think some of that Disney would look back at and say, if you're remaking this, I want you to change this. Disney has become progressively a lot more heavy-handed with their creative decisions and kind of collaboration with Tetsuya Nomura's writing team. I mean, Deep Jungle is a perfect example because you have Clayton with a firearm shooting a 14-year-old. That's not going to fly. It's just not going to fly again.
To be clear. And imagine that remade though, like the Sora bleed, because then you have to you gotta go through all that.
Yeah, and I do think that Tetsuya Nomura is also very careful about the representation of his characters, especially Sora. Like he's definitely been on the record talking about Sora in a very positive, like in a very protective way about his representation. So Deep Jungle, as it is, obviously would have to be reworked, not even just from a licensing decision, but also a rating decision. If you have Clayton with the firearm in a boss fight again, that game rating is going up, or you have to
Yeah.
take out that world,
Yeah.
or at least that boss fight. But yeah,
Or you
so
change you turn Clayton into a Heartless. You know,
yeah, and
like
that's
something
something
like
they
that.
did a lot with Kingdom Hearts 3, and it's
Yeah.
something I personally miss with. Well, let's go back to why Kingdom Hearts 1 shouldn't have a remake. One of the things that Kingdom Hearts 1 I think excels at is having the combat immersed into the world elements in the story. You have a lot of boss fights directly with Disney characters in Kingdom Hearts 1, and they're some of my favorites in the series. They're so intricate. There's so much character in the characters, in the Disney characters and what they do in combat. The Captain Hook fight, oh my god, I could talk for hours about the depth of that fight and his like custom animations when you hit him with certain magics and stuff. We don't have that in other games, but we also just don't have a lot of Sora versus the Disney characters in especially 3. They have some of that in 2. You fight Pete a lot. You fight the MCP. There's definitely
Yeah.
some, hands-on combat there. But you can see there was a pretty major shift, especially with 3, of I don't want you to fight this person head on. I want you to fight their Heartless, which is going to be thematic to the world, but it's not going to look like that character. Mother Gothel and the big tree thing. Hans is a good example. Hans wields a sword in the movie. You definitely could have,
Such
like,
a wasted potential, in my opinion.
yeah, and
Wasted
you could fight
potential.
the wolf, which is I don't want to talk about that thing.
I mean,
Skull.
I think Skull is a really cool fight. In fact, I actually do
Yeah.
think it's one of the better boss fights. But it would have been cool to have like a phase 1 where you just fight Hans, and then phase
Sure.
2 where like he turns into the Heartless.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm trying to think of like the other worlds. We do fight a dark version of Baymax, which is actually one of my favorite elements in that world. I
And
thought
we
that was
fight
very
Davy
cleverly done.
Jones. We do fight Davy Jones.
That is true, and
Which
that
is so
fight
interesting.
Is cool as hell.
Yeah.
That fight is cool as hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's an example of that. I guess Toy Story hits on different story beats, so that's like a Heartless thing. But yeah, I think that's just one element where Kingdom Hearts 1 shines especially is that you actually do have a lot of like just direct confrontation with the Disney characters that makes you feel very, very immersed in that world. Like
Yeah.
you are upsetting the balance. You are going against the Prime Directive. You are beating the crap out of Captain Hook, Oogie Boogie, Maleficent, whatever. And I just think that's cool. And I also think that if you made a remake, Disney might say, "Hey, wait a minute. We actually don't want like your character fighting these characters anymore." It's possible.
So, and yeah, I agree with you because I mean, I didn't really even think about it until you brought it up. But yeah, like I guess that's another reason why I'm very against like Kingdom Hearts 1 remake. It's like, there's a lot more that I feel like would be changed, than we think. You're not going to get 1-for-1 Kingdom Hearts 1 if it gets remade. There's going to be differences just because of just how the culture has changed as well and how Disney has changed. But let's say that Kingdom Hearts 1 did get a remake. Let's say it was happening. If Kingdom Hearts 1 were to get a remake, what could they change? What do you like? Combat? Would they add worlds, take out worlds? We kind of already talked about that with like Deep Jungle and stuff like that. Would they alter the story at all? Would they keep the story? What would they change, or what do you think they could change if a remake was on the table?
That's a great question because I think there's a lot of opportunity for positive change with something like Kingdom Hearts 1 if it got a remake. There's a lot of technical things that could change. There's no trackable treasure chests in Kingdom Hearts 1. So adding that to Jimmy's Journal like it is in 2 and 3 would be a huge boost for a lot of people. A lot of people complain about Kingdom Hearts 1 being very difficult to navigate, especially in worlds like Deep Jungle and
Sure.
Monstro especially. So a lot of people have said, why doesn't this game have a map? Why can't I see the actual what the rooms
That's
look
right.
like?
Kingdom Hearts 1 actually does not have a map. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
So
spoiled now. We're so
I
spoiled now.
not to get on the map topic, but I am a huge proponent of not having a map on the HUD because what I notice when I'm playing games with maps is my eyes are locked on that mini map and I'm not looking at the world
Mm.
at all. And I think it really takes me out of the element of getting to be aware of my surroundings and really immerse myself in that world. You know, if
Yeah.
I'm always looking at a mini map, it's like looking at Google Maps on your phone when you're in Venice. You know, like
Yeah.
if your experience in Venice is sitting and looking at your Google Maps to walk to the nearest cafe, you're missing out on a lot of great things. And I feel that way with games sometimes, where mini maps and navigation can sometimes hinder the player's immersion in ways. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
No, that's such a good point that you make because like you're right and I think like I think that's because like the levels are so well designed in Kingdom Hearts 1, not having a map is to its benefit because it forces you to interact and actually look around and explore and figure things out. And even like recent games have done that too, which I appreciate. More recently, Expedition 33. Expedition 33 does not have a mini map. You know,
Oh,
because
nice.
they want you to just I mean, the game is gorgeous, right? They want you to just see everything. You know, they want you to look at everything and to you know to find things on your own. And like, I didn't think it needed a mini map. Even a couple years ago, Black Myth Wukong came out. That game didn't have a mini map either, and it didn't need one. You
Yeah.
know? And so not every game needs a mini map. I understand the complaints, right? You know, with the action RPG, you know, scholars out there, but like I don't know, like and I don't think Kingdom Hearts 1 needs a mini map. You know, yeah, like as you know, you get more in-depth worlds like in Kingdom Hearts 3 where they're just massive, of course, you know, that helps, but man, they should bring back the Chain of Memories map. Why not bring that back? Just blocks, just squares. Of like, this is the
Good
room
old
name, this is
block.
the square. Good old block. Yeah, there's your
Yeah.
map.
Coming back to like what else could be really great to add to a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake or change in a KH1 remake. One of the things that I think if I were in charge, which I'm obviously not, but if I were in charge of a KH1 remake, one of the things I would actually touch very delicately is there are cutscenes with fully rendered facial expressions that look great in the current version of the
Oh
game. But there
yeah.
are also shots where it goes low poly and it's just like 2 frames of the mouth opening and closing exactly. And I really think
Yeah.
that just a little touch up on those particular shots in the cutscenes where you don't have the fully fully rigged
Yeah.
facial expressions,
The
I
blah
think
blah
would be a
faces.
huge bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And it's not like I mean, it would, you know, it would take, you know, some work to do that, but you know, with modern gaming now, I mean, you know, that's you don't see really any modern games that are at least AAA games that are, you know, that have like the Kingdom Hearts one like blah blah faces is what I call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. Do you think they would alter the combat at all?
I think they would inevitably have to. I think if they
Yeah.
tried to do a one-to-one in a remake, especially for those who had played the original, I think there would be an expectation from a lot of players, maybe not all, but a lot of players, that the combat would be reworked into something that didn't ail from its original, you know, I guess discomfort. I suppose. I think what we were talking about earlier with the scale of it and the camera being close to Sora is part of the reason why the camera sucks in combat, right? Because
Sure.
it's trying to rotate around a character that's very close by. So
Yeah.
when you're pinned up against a wall, it kind of has an issue there. There are still things they could fix about that. And one of the things Kingdom Hearts 1 does is when Sora is up against a wall and you're kind of closing the distance between you and the camera because the camera's stuck on the wall,
Yeah.
Sora's model will go invisible. So you can actually see through him and see what's going on the screen, which is kind of nice, kind of, you know, pretty forward thinking for that era of gaming that they did that.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that inevitably would have to change with a remake because you're trying to pull in people. I mean, that's the core of Kingdom Hearts is it's like real time, multi-enemy, no loading zones combat. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's become pretty synonymous with at least the numbered titles, especially. So I feel like that's something that a lot of people would expect to change. I also think that people would expect some change to the gummy ship as well, at least
Oh
the routing and
yeah,
all that.
yeah,
I feel like they'd probably rework that into something that's more in line with like Kingdom Hearts 3's
yeah.
gummy ship system. I mean, maybe the world map goes away entirely. Honestly, like Kingdom Hearts 1, I think a lot of like just casual players may not know this because of the way they either play through the game or they've only played through it once. But Kingdom Hearts 1 actually has a lot of opportunities for the player to make a decision that goes outside of the, let's call it the casual order or the natural order of the way you can play the game. You can do entire world visits out of order, which alters cutscenes. If you do Deep Jungle and finish it before Wonderland, Alice doesn't get kidnapped, so that cutscene doesn't make sense. So they actually swap her out for Snow White in that cutscene. And there's at least a handful more instances where you as the player can make different decisions as to which worlds you go to first. You can go to Halloween Town before Atlantica. You can choose to go, like, you'll find Monstro on two different, completely different points of the map. And you can even skip worlds and move on with the overarching story to the point where it completely changes the narrative. One of the examples there is like you can skip Monstro, like you can get chomped by Monstro, immediately leave, go all the way to Hollow Bastion, get rescued by Kairi as a Heartless, go back to Monstro, and there's that fight with Parasite Cage where Sora and Riku usually have this like back and forth of like heart or no heart, at least I have a conscience, and they have this whole conversation where they're like,
Oh right.
getting separated, they're kind of falling apart, their friendship is falling apart, but that doesn't happen because you've already gone to Hollow Bastion. Riku's already taken over by Ansem. So
That's so.
they had to,
That is so. I didn't know that because
yeah.
I never just skip Monstro. I've always just done Monstro and just and
Yeah,
then
so
just move
they
on.
literally
Yeah.
have two versions of a handful of cutscenes in that game,
Huh.
depending on what the player does. And there's great YouTube videos from other creators who kind of cover those differences. I think Shady Riku has a pretty good comparison video of just the side by side of what can happen and what doesn't happen. But Kingdom Hearts 1 has these kind of narrative fail safes based on player actions. There's surprising amount of depth for a game of its era. And I think KH2 and KH3 very much streamline that. They don't really have much of anything to that effect, to my knowledge. I'm not as well versed in those games, admittedly. But if you made a remake, would they streamline the world order to where players couldn't do that anymore?
Whoa. Yeah. I knew about the Alice in Wonderland thing. Like if you do Deep Jungle first, because I think they swap it out with like Snow White or something in the
Yeah.
cutscene, where like Alice doesn't get kidnapped because you didn't go to Wonderland first. You went to Deep Jungle. I had no idea about the monstrous stuff. Are the cutscenes just different, or do they like remove like some of those Riku cutscenes? Because like those cutscenes are kind of important for
Yeah, it's really interesting.
they're for Sora and Riku's relationship.
So some of the cutscenes are just shorter, like they cut things out. A good
Huh.
example of that is Olympus Coliseum. When you finish the first episode there's this scene with Hades where he's like talking about Hercules,
Yeah.
and then Maleficent shows up and says, "Beware the darkness in your heart," blah 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 blah, like fight to your heart's content or something, and then she leaves. If you do Hollow Bastion before Olympus Coliseum, which is possible. You could just never go to Olympus Coliseum before going
Whoa.
to Hollow Bastion.
That's
So
crazy.
you
Yeah.
can go all the way to Hollow Bastion. You can go rescue Kyrie, come back to Olympus, do the first episode where you're meeting Phil and Hades and Hercules, and you can fight Cerberus. And when you leave, that cutscene plays where Hades is talking about Hercules, but Maleficent never shows up because she's already gone. So
Huh.
the cutscene just ends early. And then other examples, the cutscenes just completely change. Like the interactions are completely different.
Whoa. What are like some other examples that you can think of? Like off the top of your head with like narrative decisions that like the player like might make. Cause now I'm so intrigued. Again, I only knew about like the Alice thing, but like this is like blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, there's some crazy ones out there, and
Yeah.
I think it was last year I actually did do what I called a paradox playthrough, which is it's paradox is a misnomer for it, but I essentially did a playthrough where I just made all the opposite decisions. You know, I was like, you know what,
Huh.
I'm gonna skip this world. I'm gonna do this one first. I'm gonna not go to Monstro in the south. I'm gonna encounter Monstro in the alternate position because you can find Monstro in two different spots on the world
Yeah.
map. Trying to think what else changes. I don't know if there's anything different in Halloween Town, to my knowledge. I'll
That's
have to
so
look it up. So
interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
there are a couple of YouTube videos that I would recommend to you or anyone who's interested. Maybe we'll throw them in the comments.
Yeah.
That kind of highlight the differences based on the player choice. And it's not always just cutscenes. There's some other changes that might happen in the world, but I don't know. Kingdom Hearts 1 just has a staggering amount of depth to it. And it's not just the paradox stuff. It just, there's a depth to its combat. There's honestly a hidden depth to its combat that Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 lack, or they just don't have, maybe by choice. Critical hits are gone
That's
in
right.
major
Yeah.
entries.
Yeah, true.
And there's
Tech
this
points
whole
are gone too.
Tech points, my
My
beloved. I
beloved.
love the idea of tech points.
Me too.
Okay, let's coming back to your question. Sorry, we've been full
No, no,
circle
no.
here.
No, keep going. We're good. Yep.
Honestly, if they made a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake, I would really hope that they continue to include something like tech points. I love tech points. I have a whole video about it on my YouTube, just, praising tech points as a mechanic and talking about the intricacies and how they work. But at a high level, I won't go into too much of it. Tech points incentivize players to take risks or do something different. And I think that's something that every game should encourage in some way, shape, or form. One of the recent games that I think really turned its own formula on its head for that reason is Pokemon Legends Arceus. I didn't play ZA yet, but Arceus had a Pokedex system that had submissions for each Pokemon. That I think normally you just catch a Pokemon and you just send it to the PC box and be
Yep.
like, okay, I caught
Yep.
it, I'm done.
Yep.
They're like, no, you're not done yet. I want you to use this particular move X amount of times. I want you to do this particular thing at this time of day. And it's things you would never think to do, but actually have really cool impact in the game. And so they're incentivizing you to do it. And I think
Yeah.
Tech Points is that for Kingdom Hearts 1, where it's telling you to take risks and do something you wouldn't naturally do because, I don't know, you're lazy. I don't know, but like elemental resistances, we lose that, or not. Well, elemental weaknesses, I should say. We have resistances, but elemental weaknesses is something that KH1 does incredibly well. That Kingdom Hearts 2 does to some degree, and Kingdom Hearts 3, I don't know if there's too much of that. I know there's like status effects, but not weaknesses like gravity against large enemies. Like,
Yeah. There's a couple in Kingdom Hearts 3 where, like, in Kingdom of Corona, if you use arrow on, like, the Flower Heartless or the Dandelion
Yeah.
Heartless, like,
So it's got some.
it takes away, like, their armor, and there's
Yeah.
some of that. But I agree with you. Kingdom Hearts 1, I think, did that the best, where, like, if I throw Blizzard Magic at a Red Nocturne, it's going to get stunned and it's going to give me tech points, Or
Yeah.
if I climb up the arm of a Dark Side and whack his head, I'm going to get tech points for that, even though I'm doing the same amount of damage to it.
Exactly.
It's stuff like that I miss that, and you reward high level play. You reward players who are looking for like that high level play, and that's something that I think is lost in some of the other games that I wish it would bring back. And if Kingdom Hearts got a remake, like that's something that they should consider.
Yeah,
So, again, we already talked about like worlds and stuff. Would they, outside of Deep Jungle, right? Would they remove worlds? Would they add worlds? Do you think like they would, in a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake? Do you think they would like mess with that at all? Do you think they would alter the story at all? That's definitely a risky road to go down because a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans are very passionate about the story. It's a very passionate fan base. So I'm just curious what you think about those things.
I think that's one of those things very similar to like just the overall balance of all the qualities of the game, that if you remade it, inevitably you would shift something that would change it in a way that would just be different. And I feel like if you start touching the overarching story in a very impactful way, I think that opens a can of worms, or opens a Pandora's box that you can't come back from. And I know that Nomura and his writing team is very intent on having a singular, overarching, and like very interweaved story. that for the most part all connects together via some way, shape, or form in answers. Where if a remake were to change that story, is it because it's trying to retcon what was made canon later on? Are you changing it because you're going to change other things in the future? Like, is this a you change something in the past and therefore something in the future is altered because you wanted to do that? There's all like infinite possibilities there, and I'm sure that that kind of change is going to come with all kinds of reactions from those who enjoy Kingdom Hearts. I think some people are going to be like, "No, you messed up the story. You changed something like critical to it." Other people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, that makes way more sense. Why wasn't it like that in the first place?" So I think
Yeah.
that you're definitely going to get a mixed bag with that if you were to change something that of that magnitude in Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts, its formula, the Kingdom Hearts formula, its story, as great or wacky as it is a big part of that. And I think if you were to change that in a major way with a remake, it's going to have, let's say, it'll have repercussions, either good or bad.
Yeah, and even if you, because if you wanted to do something like that, you got to be very careful and delicate with something like that because even like, and we all know, like, even the smallest details of Kingdom Hearts mean something, or even the smallest line of
Yeah.
dialogue that had absolutely no relevance in 2002, all of a sudden in 2020 is relevant. Like, and so it's like, if you're remaking it, and even if you alter dialogue, like, you've got to be careful, like, even if you're trying to keep the story consistent, like, to make sure that, like, you're not, you're leaving like just a small thing out that actually is now a massive plot hole in the entire story.
Yeah,
Now, are
exactly.
you, so before I ask this question, are you caught up with like the FF7 remake trilogy as it is right now?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, like, what if Kingdom Hearts did something similar, maybe narrative wise, like FF7 did, right? Which I don't think this is a good idea, but it came to my head. I'm just kind of curious, like, where, the theory is, and I mean, is it more of a theory now? I don't know. And kind of spoilers for FF7 remake trilogy. But like, it's kind of implied that like Sephiroth knows some stuff that maybe he shouldn't know, and it's kind of implied that like Aerith, like, she knows some things, and I'm wondering, like, what if like Kingdom Hearts they did a remake, but like the versions of Xehanort, so like Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, and Xemnas, they're actually kind of aware of like the events of like Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, and things like that. You
Well,
know?
I mean, it's funny you say that because in a way they are. Because think back to Dream Drop, we've got Ansem Seeker of Darkness splitting himself up and just
True.
popping back to Destiny Islands and chilling there for 10 years. So
Yep, true.
there's
They kind
definitely
of
a
already did that,
precedent.
I guess. Right?
Yeah, so
Yeah, okay.
there's a precedent to
Yeah.
like kind of mess with the timeline a little bit. We definitely have time travel like introduced very formally in something like Dream Drop Distance. So you could expound upon that. For the record, I hate time travel. I really do. I really think it's a cheap storytelling mechanic because it's obviously not synonymous with our like perception of our current universe.
It's
But you know what?
messy.
It's not our universe.
It's messy.
It's just messy. I personally don't love the story of Dream Drop. I think there's really cool elements. I love the worlds. I just don't like time travel in my media.
Yeah.
I think it cheapens. I think it overcomplicates. But on the other side, if you wanted to do a treatment like Seven Remake is doing, where you're trying to straddle the line between a new experience and something you've experienced before but want to see in a high fidelity, that's something they could do.
Yeah.
There's a precedent for that.
Yeah, I definitely don't think they should, but
Yeah.
as we're talking, I'm like, I'm just kind of curious. Let's just talk about it real quick. And yeah, kind of going back to whenever we were talking about Ansem and Xemnas like being aware, like, because like, yeah, Ansem like goes back in time and things like that, and I also, like, at first I was like, oh, time travel, like, this is cool, but like as I get older, I'm like, time travel, like the multiverse, not that that's happening in Kingdom Hearts, but just like in other media, it's like it kind of cheapens the stakes. Like, the stakes aren't as high anymore. You know what I mean? Because it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, well, like, if we need to like, you know, like if we need to patch up a plot hole, we'll just throw time travel in. Or, you know, if we want to bring back a character, we'll just create a multiverse so that we can do that. It's like it's just there's no
Yeah,
stakes at that point. And
I
it's
agree. I
kind of
mean,
it can get kind of lazy.
there have been a couple, I can only think of a couple of implementations of time travel in a story that was very like crucial to its storytelling that I think I really vibed with. But for the most part, I agree with you. It's, you know, I think it overcomplicates. I think it's something that it adds more plot holes than they fill, you
Yeah.
know? I especially do not like the time travel concept in Dream Drop and the way they describe it. Obviously, Kingdom Hearts is a very complex game.
Sure.
A lot of people say it's very complicated or convoluted. They use all the C words. But I think the time travel itself is one of those things where I kind of had a moment where I was like, "Oh no, I don't like this." But
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it just changes things.
Yeah,
You know?
I thought it was interesting, like how they do it in Kingdom Hearts, because it's definitely different from how I've seen it done before, where it's like you have to have a version of yourself at the point where you leave and a version of yourself at the destination in order to travel through time. Like, I was like, that's interesting, you know, like it hasn't really been done like
Sure.
that before. But again, it makes things more complicated, it makes things messy, you know, it's just like a tough thing to kind of balance. And, you know, if you were to try to go the FF7 remake route with the Kingdom Hearts remake, not a good idea, in my opinion. So, would you feel, though, about like a playable Riku segment in a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake?
You know, it's funny. I was actually just thinking that I think rather than introduce like a time travel element or alternate universe, I think a remake of really any Kingdom Hearts game has the opportunity to present the story from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Or even
Yeah.
King Mickey from Kingdom Hearts 1. I think there's a big gap of where King Mickey was and exactly what he was doing during the events of Kingdom Hearts 1 that we've only heard or like heard about in written text. Maybe the Jimmy's Journal stuff covers it too. But I'd love to see more of that. I know Recoded had a little bit of context there, but I think there's a lot of Riku's journey and King Mickey's journey and even the like, where the hell was Kyrie in the Realm of Darkness? How did they recover her body? I'd love to know. I'd love to know how they
Yeah.
just found Kyrie's body
Well, because you would think,
out of thin
at
air.
least I would think, like Riku might have been the one who found her, you know? And so,
Hmm.
like, how cool would it be to like play as Riku and then you see his journey kind of with like the Council of Villainry, you know, the Disney villains? Because, like, in Chain of Memories, you're going through Chain of Memories and Riku's memories in all these worlds, he's alone and it's just the villains, and that's
Yeah.
it. And it would just be really interesting for, you know, like if Kingdom Hearts 1 were to get remade, if they made a playable Riku segment, to see things from his perspective a little bit more, you know, and like, and I wouldn't even think it would be padding at, because you're actually getting more story that you never got before. You're getting kind of more into, you know, Riku's fall. Like you go more in depth, you kind of see his decline. And I think it also just makes like, you know, if you go back and play Chain of Memories and you do Riku's story, it makes like going through like those Disney worlds even that much more satisfying because you've seen it already, you know. And yeah, I mean it'd be interesting. Like I'd like to think that Riku is the one who like found Kairi, you know, wherever she was at, or like her body or whatever. And it's like, man, I would see that. And it doesn't, they don't have to be like, you know, crazy long segments. They can be like, you know, I'm not saying they have to be as short as like, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3's Riku segments, but I think that would be interesting. Like, Riku's my favorite character. Like, I would love to see that. And you get to, not only that, but like, it would just be interesting to like, I walk up to like a Disney villain and I have a triangle prompt to talk to them.
Yeah,
Like, that's so interesting. Or like,
that'd be cool.
you know, you get the, like, maybe like he has a whole different gameplay style. Like, he has, you know, he eventually, well, actually, he doesn't really get his dark mode that we know of until Hollow Bastion, but it's like
Yeah.
maybe that's something that they change if they have like a playable Riku segment. Like give him a dark mode, you know, that's not just like Chain of Memories dark mode. Like I don't know, like I think that would be cool. That would be like the one thing if Kingdom Hearts 1 got remake that I would absolutely 100% want them to do.
I think so. And I think it's a no-brainer to do that too, because
Yeah.
I think with any media, a remake is an opportunity to embellish, or
Yeah.
to not even necessarily embellish, but to boost the qualities that were already great and introduce something new that entices people to experience the remake, right? I mean, shoot, Fire Red, Leaf Green just released for Switch. I have both of them for GBA. There's truly not enough new content or interactivity on the Switch version that makes me want to jump and get it, because I already got them on GBA. But something like a KH1 remake, or even remakes of other games like 2, you have an opportunity to add additional, like, even just cutscenes, not even playable characters, but
Sure.
additional context around things that we've had questions about for years. Like, how did Riku just pull out a Keyblade and then just pull out another one for Kairi? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
there are some moments in the
Yeah.
story as we experience them today that I think a lot of people would be eager to see just more context around that. And I know Tetsuya Nomura loves writing things as show don't tell. It's just been a part of his style in a lot of media, but especially Kingdom Hearts. So I get it. But y'all know Kingdom Hearts fans. We just like eat all the new stuff up. Like we're just like we want to know the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we, those answers ultimately lead to more questions, right?
Always.
So interesting. Yeah. Overall, like, like I think we're both kind of like under the impression, like, no, Kingdom Hearts 1 shouldn't get remade. But, there are like some things that I think would be interesting if they did a remake. I'm very curious to see, what the chat or the comments say, as well, and what they think. But yeah, so interesting. Well, KHGuides, thanks for coming on, but we're not done yet. We got a final segment. So I sent you a little Google Doc. I want you to get that pulled up right now. So this is our super secret final segment of the podcast. And for those of you watching, Guides has no idea what this is. I'm about to tell him right now. KHGuides, here's what I'm gonna have you do. You've got to list 1 to 10. Okay. And I'm just gonna have you type in, your answers. But I'm gonna have you blind rank Kingdom Hearts worlds 1 to 10. So I've got 10 worlds here, and they're not just from Kingdom Hearts 1. They can be from any game in the series. I've got 10 worlds. It was really hard to pick 10 of them, but I've just got 10 here, kind of random, kind of not. You're just going to rank them 1 to 10. So the first world that I have for you is Traverse Town. We're starting with a classic. Classic. There's going to be some originals. There's going to be some Disney worlds, but we're starting with a classic.
All right. Well, I love Traverse Town. I love its theme. I love its environment. I think there's a unspoken feeling of home in Traverse Town. So it's pretty high up. It's almost a hub world in one that like you feel comfortable going back to like regroup and reassess your life choices in Kingdom Hearts.
Well, it's funny because you do have to go back there too. Like you have to return it for the story as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got
multiple times,
3 visits.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other worlds are yet, but I'm gonna put it pretty high. I'm gonna put it like 3.
Okay.
For now.
Put it at 3.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Traverse Town is at 3. All right. So your next world is the Pride Lands.
Ooh, okay. I like the execution of the Pride Lands. I think Lion Sora is very, very cute. I think what they did with the combat there was very clever. I liked that we actually got to go to that world. But I'm gonna put it at like 8.
8, okay.
It's not my super favorite in terms of execution, especially story wise. I'm really disappointed that we have to fight Scar's ghost instead of
on the second visit.
Heartless.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, yeah, Scar's Heartless. You got like, come on, just call him Scar and be done with it. But yeah.
Oh, I guess no. I'm thinking of they actually did that on the first visit. Yeah, the second visit was Scar's ghost, and then the Ground Shaker. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Lion Pete is terrifying. He haunts my nightmares. So, yeah.
All right, Pride Lands at 8. Okay, your next world is Toy Box from Kingdom Hearts 3.
So admittedly, and this is going to sound crazy, but I've only played through Kingdom Hearts 3 twice. But I do really like Toy Box. I think a lot of people were hoping that Toy Story was going to be in there, and I know they had a crazy cool reveal at, was that D23?
I think it was. I want to say it was D23 or E3. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
I like the execution of that world. I will say it has a lot of platforming elements.
Yeah,
that I like from KH1. So I'm gonna put that in spot number 4.
Okay, Toy Box at number 4.
It.
Okay, your next world is Olympus Coliseum Kingdom Hearts 1.
Ooh, KH1 Coliseum. Okay. I think the story visit itself is kind of lackluster. Just in terms of the environments you get to go to. It's literally just the vestibule, the gates, and then when you're in the combat is the Coliseum. So I think just the interactivity of the world is kind of lackluster. That being said, I like the tournaments. I think they're a really fun aspect of one. I especially love the story in Olympus of Sora learning to rely on Donald and Goofy as his power, and that the sealing the keyhole actually requires all 3 of them. I think that's really cute.
It's a really nice touch.
Bonus points for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in 5.
Olympus at 5. Okay.
I really hope I'm gonna hate some of these.
We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Your next one, I had to put it on here. Finny Fun, Atlantica, Kingdom Hearts 2.
Okay.
I had to put it on here.
The comments here, but I genuinely really like KH2 Atlantica. If there was a world that you were going to give it a musical number treatment, it has to be The Little Mermaid. It is one of the most important films in the Disney catalog. It literally saved the studio. It was like the 3rd time that the studio got saved by a film. And it happily relies on its music for that through storytelling. So I think it's flawless. The songs are horrendous. The covers of the songs are horrendous. I'm reducing points. I'm taking points away because they did not do Poor Unfortunate Souls. For Ursula,
missed opportunity. Yeah,
that song's great. Ursula's Revenge is just not. So,
it's not that good. It's not.
I don't hate it though. So I'm gonna put it in 7.
Okay. Atlantica, Kingdom Hearts 2 in 7. Okay. Next up, you're doing good. Next up,
okay,
you've got Symphony of Sorcery from Dream Drop.
Okay. You've got some good choices. I love Symphony of Sorcery. I'm a Fantasia sucker.
I know. I know you are. Yeah.
Yeah. I know you chose these. I love the idea of the orchestral hits being like used to replace the combat sound effects to make it feel more immersive in that world. I think it's so clever. I think the environments are beautiful. I think the environment changes in those certain sections are really cool.
And there's no dialogue. It's just music. It's just the sounds. Yeah.
Beautiful execution. It's so good. I'm either gonna do 2 or 6 for this one. I'll put it in 6.
Oh, okay, 6.
I really like it. I really like it, but yeah.
Okay, Symphony of Sorcery
sucks though.
Yes, Pelican's brutal. Okay, you've got 1, 2, 9, and 10. So the top 2 and the bottom 2 left. Okay, we'll see what happens here. Okay, so your next world is Disney Town, Birth by Slave.
10. Easy.
10. Okay.
10 easy. The world visually is fine. It's very cartoony. It's meant to be. I think that hearing the Mickey Mouse Club March on repeat is grating. I think that absolutely undermines the experience of Disneytown. I know it fits the vibe, but God, they needed to write at least some other like bridge section for that song because it's too upbeat. It's too much like, you know when you smile so much that your face starts to hurt? That's that song.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put that in 10. I'm sorry.
Valid. Okay, you got 3 left. Your next world is Hollow Bastion.
It's gotta be 2 or 1. Hollow Bastion. Is there a game version for this one, or
let's do Kingdom Hearts 1 Hollow Bastion.
Okay. Yeah,
since we talked a lot of Kingdom Hearts 1
of Hollow Bastion.
Yeah.
It's just like I think that world perfectly encapsulates a lot of the strengths that KH1 had with its platforming, its puzzle solving, its scale. Like when you enter the world, one of the first things you see is that camera pan, like behind Sora, and you see the looming like castle of Hollow Bastion. I think that's so cool. I'm gonna put it in one. I don't know
Okay.
what's left, but I'm gonna put it in one.
Okay,
Every
Hollow
time
Bastion and
is so
one.
good. I remember when Sora got announced for Smash right beforehand because I ended up co-streaming that with Lance and a couple other friends.
Uh-huh.
That we were talking about like what would you like to see? It's like obviously we want Sora to be the final fighter, but we started talking about stages, and I was like honestly, KH1 Hollow Bastion would be it. And
Yeah, I agree. I
Christmas
agree.
came early for me, so I was like, oh my god, it's perfect.
Did you expect them to do like the Dive to the Hearts, like like
No,
the Station
that
of
was cool.
Awakenings in the background?
Really cool.
That was
I
a nice
honestly,
touch.
I didn't expect Sora to be the final fighter. I thought that was going to be behind too much red tape for
Me
Disney
too.
or Nimmer or whatever.
Me too.
And so I was genuinely surprised. It's one of the only times where I had a genuine like crazy reaction on like recorded video.
Man, yeah, what that was I think Treehouse and I talked about this on a previous podcast, but we were both like, yeah, that might have been one of the best days of my life. Like when it's Sora going to Smash, it's crazy. Okay,
glad
two
you were
left.
immaculate.
Two left. Your next world is San Francisco.
Ooh, San Fran. Okay. Again, I'm not super well versed with all the intricacies of KH3. I like Big Hero 6 as a film. I was actually pretty excited when they announced that as like one of the very first announcements for KH3 for like world inclusion. I think the story of having like the Dark Baymax versus like Baymax version 2 is very cool.
So good.
I think the world itself is pretty fun. I think there are a couple of elements that get kind of monotonous because you have like just a city. It's just a city.
And at that point, you
Like,
just you have glide, so it's like you just fly around the city, you know.
yeah.
I get it.
Feels very much sandbox a little bit, not toy box, but sandbox. That being said, there's a lot of platforming there, and I think the bosses make pretty good use of the space. But I only have so many slots, so it's got to go in 9.
Okay, San Fran.
I'm curious to see
And
what I
9.
automatically put in number 2.
Okay, your final world that's going at number 2 is the world that never was, Kingdom Hearts 2.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
fair.
Yeah.
I vibe with it. It's a cool world.
Yeah.
Also,
and
I love that is the last world in 2, but it's your first time where you're like, oh my god, this is the thing I saw in the KH1 secret ending.
for sure. For
So
sure.
it's
Like we're
having that
finally
realization
seeing
to be
that.
like, oh my god, that's
Yeah.
what I am. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, so now this is your list from the blind ranking. Now I'm going to ask you if you could change your list of these worlds, what would you change, and would you add some? Would you take away some? You know, how would you change it?
I wouldn't change Hollow Bastion 1 probably. I would probably move. I'd probably move Symphony of Sorcery up because I really do vibe with that. I'd keep Lamco where it is. I think Pride Land stays and Disney Town stays. San Fran might go up a little bit. I think one of the ones, if I were to make a list where I could add stuff to it,
Sure.
I'd add Timeless River. I'm a huge sucker for Timeless River.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because not too long ago I was like, I hate time travel, and I still do. But
That's
I think
different though.
aesthetically-
Timeless River,
Yeah, it
Timeless
is
River
different.
gets a pass.
The
Yeah.
thing is, there's a self-contained story around Timeless River where the time travel doesn't really like fall apart. It's
Yeah.
still not great, but I think aesthetically, like the changing the HUD to black and white, having the like crispy audio of the 1920s, it's just so silly. It's so good.
Where would you put Timeless River on this list?
Oh,
do you
I'd
think?
put it at like 2 or 3, honestly.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Anything else you would change?
You know, I would probably add Kingdom of Corona. I think
I
it's
thought
one of my
about
favorite worlds in 3.
I thought about putting that on here, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
good. I think what really shines for me in Kingdom of Corona, aside from the unfortunate name, given the timing, is the
They were a
music's
year
really
early.
Great. I think
Yep.
it really fits the world. I really like that as you're traveling from her tower to the actual like castle town, the kingdom. There are a lot of like interactable moments where like you get to either interact with the characters or interact with the environment in really fun ways, like using Aroga on the flowers or like bringing the birds back
Yeah.
to her. To Rapunzel.
Okay, Kingdom of
Also,
Corona.
using
Yeah.
her hair in combat is so
So fun.
freaking clever. I love
Yeah,
that.
so fun. And just having her as a party member,
Yeah.
right? It's like that was just because I think she was one of the new Seven Hearts, but it's like,
Hmm.
oh, but she's fighting with me. Like, this is cool, you know? I almost wish they would have done something like that with Elsa. Actually, Elsa allegedly was supposed to be like a boss fight, wasn't she? And Disney was like, no.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I've heard that before. I don't remember if I've ever seen actual like written stuff
I,
in the
I've
Ultimate
I've
Game of
heard
it,
it.
but
Yeah, yeah, I've heard it.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised though, because Disney is pretty intense about the representation, especially the more modern characters. I think they're a bit more lax with some of the older stuff, but everything has to be vetted through Disney.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Anything else you would change on here, alter on here?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of other worlds that I really, really vibe with. Trying to like maybe something for what's unique in Days. Oh, you know what? I would probably put Neverland Birth by
Neverland.
Sleep in here. I'd
Yeah.
probably like replace San Fran for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's the best iteration of Neverland we ever got. I think the musical theme feels very Neverland. I
Yep.
think the
Yep.
environments are the best version of Neverland because it's. I think the first time you literally go to Neverland. I
Well,
think
outside of
everything else is like
days, but you're kind of
that's true.
you're not really like I don't even really remember Days Neverland that much. Like I don't think there's really much to it.
There's not much to remember. You're kind of relegated to the edge of the island. The only thing you see is
Yeah.
Skull Rock in the distance, and you're just on a couple of like tiny little like archipelago little
Yeah,
islands.
the only thing I remember from that is the Ruler of the Skies fight. Like,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, that's
I don't
really
think
it.
anyone's forgetting that fight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, KHGuides, thank you so much for joining me on this
Thank you
episode
so much for
of
having
What's
me, Andy.
Brewing.
I was so excited to be to be invited here. So thank you so much for having me. This was a very fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't done a Kingdom Hearts podcast yet outside of like, well, actually, no, we haven't done a Kingdom Hearts podcast yet. Now that I'm thinking about it, we talk about it here and there, but,
Yeah.
with, Kingdom Hearts anniversary coming up, I thought it was good timing. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Guides, if you want to just tell us, what you're up to right now, what you're doing next, and where we can find you. And I'll have your links in the descriptions as well, but...
Absolutely, yeah. So I stream on Twitch 2 times a week. I do YouTube videos once in every blue moon, mostly guides and walkthroughs for the Kingdom Hearts series. We have March Capri 6 coming up at the end of the month, so if you're watching this as soon as it goes live, you can see a lot of great Kingdom Hearts creators putting out new stuff in celebration of the 24th anniversary this year in just a couple weeks. So marchcaprice.com for any info on that. I make the KHGuides website, so feel free to use it if you need help in anything KH1, KH2 related. Still working on all the other games. It'll be a few years down the road. But yeah, and come say hi to me on Twitch. We're just chilling with some KH1 right now and working on projects. But yeah, we'd love to see you. And again, Andy, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you again for coming on. It was a pleasure. And that's going to be it for What's Brewing episode 8. I really wanted it to be episode 7, but all the Sony Blue Point stuff happened, they robbed us of that, and that's all right.
So true.
Thank you again, guys, and thank you guys for tuning in. And my name is Andy Brew. That's KHGuides, Kingdom Hearts Guides, to be, in case, just need clarification. And we'll see you guys next time.